What's up, everybody? Derek here, and today we are going to talk about my top 5 baits that I like to use whenever I'm going after panfish, and that's pretty much any bluegill type panfish. You got red breast and warmouth, and there's so many of them. Green sunfish. There's so many fish out there that are just like bluegill, and they all seem to like to eat the same things. Now, whenever I'm going after bluegill or any of these, there's one on my list that tops them all, and that is nightcrawlers, worms. Now, there's the regular brown, bigger worms that I like to use, and then there's the red crawlers that Walmart likes to use sometimes. Those work good as well, but just your regular brown nightcrawler, it can't be beat. If you pull off about 1 inch to 1.5 inch section on a tiny little bitty hook, with a split shot and a bobber above it, you're going to catch some fish. That is guaranteed. And you're probably going to catch some bass or maybe some catfish or something else along the way. Worms are so hard to beat. They're cheap and they'll last in the fridge. I've had them last up to a month and just keep go fishing with them. But you got to watch out for them, because once they start dying off, it can get pretty nasty. So you got to keep them fresh and circulate them, but they're cheap, so it's the best way to go out and be almost guaranteed to catch some fish, unless it's like a flood, muddy. I mean, most of the time a fish can see it, it can smell it, it's gonna eat it. And number 2, oh goodness, this is a tough one, but I would probably have to go with crickets. Crickets, if you do a light hook and you have really light line and you throw it out there when those fish are coming up and they're just kissing the top during the summertime and some of those times of the year where the grasshoppers are jumping around, you will catch so many fish throwing them out there. You can't get them real far out there. A lot of times, I remember hearing of stories of like grandpa and, other people going out with a cane pole and just doing a cane pole with a cricket. I mean, crickets are all over the place. Get you some crickets, throw them in a, just a cup or anything else, and they will stay alive. You just dig your hand in there, throw one on the hook, toss it out there with a cane pole, and you're just going to keep bringing fish in, because they're going to come up, kiss the top, and take them in. But you can put them under the water as well, and they'll kick, but they'll die a lot of times in my experience. They'll die off if you put them under the water. So they got to kind of float on top, and they're so light they get that surface cohesion to where they just kind of sit there and float and kick. And those fish cannot resist them. Even when it's somewhat kind of cold, they'll even come up and just inhale them. And I've had bass do that as well. Now, if I was going to go with night crawlers and then crickets, my third is pretty easy. That'd be a waxworm. Whether they're alive or not, it doesn't really matter, because they put off a stench that the fish will kind of eat. And if you are fishing with them and they're dead or they're not really moving, you can pop the bobber a little bit here and there, and they will come in. They will nail one of those. But if you just let a waxworm do what a waxworm does on a light little hook, a split shot in the bobber, same as you do with a night crawler, you're going to probably catch a bunch of them. And that's one of my favorite ways of doing it. And the night crawlers, though, has to be number 1. So if I was going to go after that, we got our 3 that we would use. So you've got your options now if you're trying to find bait to use. So some of them that are not going to be out here where we're at. You can find waxworms. You can find crickets. You can find worms all out here in the bushes and where we're at right now. Now, if you don't, there's 2 options to that, and you find them at your local grocery store. That will be corn, and just like a lot of trout fishermen, corn is the go-to, and they will catch a ton of them. You do it the same way. A light hook, either a split shot above it and then a bobber, or just corn on there with a split shot and just kind of let it drift. Or, I've even heard stories of my grandpa again doing it with corn, just a little bitty weight and a little hook and just sitting right over the bank and just bringing them in. So corn is that, and the last one, though, is pretty much known. I remember when I was a kid, we used to do this. A lot of people, when they first started catfishing, did this. But they will catch bluegill, panfish, all of those fish, and that is hot dogs. You take a little piece of hot dog, just like a little kernel of corn, pop it on there, hold it out there, and the smells and the oils will definitely draw those fish in to that bait. and you can cane pole it, you can toss them out, fish structure, you can fish anywhere, and you can catch those fish just like that. And that's 5 baits that you can pretty much go anywhere, whether it's out in nature or at your local grocery store, and you can go fishing and catch some fish, and maybe you're taking some kids fishing. You got easy options. You can't find the live bait, go get some corn or hot dogs, and there you go. And you can probably use anything else. You can find little pieces of ham, and other things will work too, but gives you some options if you're trying to catch some fish and get some people on some fish, or maybe you're just kind of going back to your roots and fishing like you used to. You already know probably all of these, most likely. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.